Hey, what's good, y'all? It's good to be back. And in this video, we're going to be talking about my takeaways from the Six Flags earnings call that took place on February 27th, 2025. This was their fourth quarter earnings call, and there was a lot of things to talk about. And there was three particular things that we're going to discuss in this video. And before we get started, please, if you're into roller coaster news and stuff going on in the amusement industry, make sure to subscribe because I will be doing a lot of videos like this. So there was three things that I took away from this particular earnings call. And the first one we're going to talk about is Six Flags over Georgia. Now, they used some pretty interesting language when they discussed Six Flags over Georgia, and there was two specific instances where they mentioned the park. So the first mention of Six Flags over Georgia was when Richard Zimmerman was talking about the attractions coming to the other Six Flags parks, and they mentioned Six Flags over Georgia that they're going to be opening Georgia Gold Rusher. But he said that the Georgia Gold Rusher will be first of several new rides we plan to add to the park as we look to tap the full potential of the very attractive Atlanta market. The fact that he used those choice words got me thinking like, I feel like, they're really looking in on what Atlanta has to offer, and you're definitely going to see more investment there for sure. Now, Atlanta is a really, really huge market, and the only, I say, major parks they have there is Six Flags over Georgia. They have the Whitewater Park there, and then they also have Six Flags, not Six Flags, but they also have Fun Spot Atlanta, which is not, I want to say, a direct competition. Maybe in the next couple of years, if they do add attractions, they can be like a direct competition to Six Flags, but really it's just mostly Six Flags in that area. So I can tell that they're pretty interested because Atlanta is huge. Atlanta is very, very huge. So another mention of Six Flags over Georgia, when a person was asking about portfolio optimization, Brian, the CFO, he mentioned something pretty interesting. When he was talking about tapping into the growth potential of different markets, he talked about how Six Flags over Georgia is a very attractive market in our long-term growth thesis. So you heard it straight from the CEO and the CFO that they're definitely looking into Six Flags over Georgia when it comes to investing new stuff. So I don't know if that's your home park, if you are a pass holder at Six Flags over Georgia, that may be very, very good news, because I feel like this park has great potential to grow into something bigger. Like, I can see Six Flags over Georgia being like the Great Adventure or the Great America of the South, like really good rides, good quality of rides. I mean, the park already has a pretty decent collection of rides, but whatever investments they're going to do to the park, I look forward to. Now, of course, it's going to be more than just rides and roller coasters, of course, but it is really interesting that they now have their eyes set on Six Flags over Georgia, and I really look forward to what they're going to do to that park. Another interesting takeaway I got from this, and probably the biggest one, is portfolio optimization, aka getting rid of the lesser performing parks. And a couple of things they talked about, and one of the main things is they want to make sure to try to get rid of any excess or undeveloped land, basically any properties that are less strategic and critical to their long-term growth objectives. And some of the examples they were talking about were smaller non-core parks and access undeveloped land. And when they talked about the undeveloped land, they talked about Virginia or King's Dominion. When I first saw the picture of the amount of land they own, I was like, wow, that is definitely excess land. They definitely need to get rid of that. But they didn't really give any examples of any, like, I guess, parks that are not critical to their long-term growth objectives. But we can kind of put an idea on which parks could be on the chopping block. So if you're a pass holder for one of the smaller parks, like I would say maybe Darien Lake, maybe Frontier City, maybe even Six Flags America. Now, I don't know about Six Flags America. Definitely Frontier City and Darien Lake I'm definitely concerned about, because I haven't heard too much news about them. But if you're not like in a major park, just keep an eye out for changes. All right, the final takeaway I want to talk about are they're going to prioritize more hours in the second and third quarter, which I'm guessing is like early summer all the way to like October. And they're going to add more hours onto days that they usually don't add during that period, and taking away days from like the winter hours. One of the things that Brian said was you'll see a few more days being added to the second and third quarters and a few less days in the fourth quarter. So the main reason why they're doing this is because they claim that hours in the winter time, they yield less margin. In other words, they don't earn as much if you would have take that day and put it to like another day in the summer. So expect much more longer hours during the summer. In my last video where I talked about layoffs, I briefly mentioned that King's Dominion did cancel their Winterfest due to low performance. So their strategy is to focus more on the busier times, the spring, the summers, the falls, you know, all the hunts and the Halloween events, and then pretty much the whole entire summer, add more hours into those days. Now, I'm not sure they're going to get rid of all winter events, but pretty much those that did not perform to their standards or to their liking, they're getting rid of, like King's Dominion's Winterfest. So don't be surprised if your favorite holiday event, especially in the winter, is going away. That's pretty much going to be their strategy, is focusing on the meat of the season, which is like spring, well, late spring, early summer, midsummer, and like fall. So don't say I didn't warn you. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments about my takeaways, and how do you feel the direction Six Flags is going. Let me know all that in the comments, and I will see you next time. Take care.